Hey guys, I'm Andrea, and welcome to episode 14 of Careers Are Weird. I was doing some podcast admin today and looking over the industries and sectors we've touched on so far, and we've talked to people who work in conservation biology, advertising, hospitality, speech language pathology, pharma and biotech, concrete, communications, and IT and UX design. And we've only had 7 guests so far. And all the guests so far have been people I've known. So it's insane to me how weird the careers in my own circle are. This week, we've got a whole new industry, and that's mental health. I'm excited for this episode. And after you listen, be sure to hit the submission link in the show notes or the Insta or LinkedIn bio to ask any questions, share your own stories, or any feedback for the show. This one is going to be a fun one. I went to high school with Rachel, and now we're here on the podcast together, and she's going to tell me all about her adult grown-up job. Rachel, hello. How are you? Where are you?
Hi, I'm good. I'm in Florida. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you very much. I'm so interested in what you do. I have obviously done a good old LinkedIn stalk of you and kind of gotten an idea of your role, but for the audience listening, what is your current job title?
My current job title is substance abuse counselor, and basically I'm helping people who've been struggling with using drugs or alcohol or just like prescription medications, and like they use it to cope or they just use it for fun, but basically they want to live better lives and be healthier. So I help them on that path.
Wow, that's a heavy role, an important role, but also a very heavy role. Do you do that for all age groups? Like like I guess there are some teenagers who unfortunately end up taking substances a bit earlier, or do you only focus on like the older folks?
The youngest I've ever dealt with is 18, so which is kind of teens, but like they're not minors or anything. So it's mostly like a lot of 18, 19, like people in like their young 20s, and like a lot of older folks, like really, really old, like retirement age. But it's mostly just adults.
Oh wow, I wouldn't have pictured retirement ages being a peak period for it. I mean, in my head, and I don't know much about this sector, I'd say it's probably more like mid 40s is like what I think media portrays to me for this. But that's really interesting. So tell me then, describe a day in the life of this role because this is not your typical 9 to 5 job. What do you do on a day-to-day basis?
Okay, so on a day-to-day basis, usually I come in. I start with a meeting, like my I hear like about any new clients, like I update them on any progress that my current clients are facing, like anyone. And then I come in, like I if there's anyone new, I meet with them. Try to get like a history from them, like if anyone like what brought them to using, why they want to quit, and trying to create like a treatment plan for them.
And where are you based? Are you in like a clinic or in in a hospital or a private practice?
I'm in a clinic. I'm in like a rehabilitation center.
And is that like is that public sector, private sector?
It's private.
Interesting. So there's loads of other counselors. Is it just substance abuse counselors that you guys you work with in that clinic, or are there like other types of counselors there as well?
It's mostly substance abuse. I know like we have one or two that also deal with like trauma because that comes a lot into it. But like a lot of their issues, it's like the main thing is substance abuse, but they also have like a lot of other things going on, like a lot of trauma, a lot of grief, and that's kind of like why they're using, or they just don't know how to deal with like the stress of work and everything. So they just start using. And it's like they're trying to learn, okay, how can I live life without having to drink or without having to smoke or without having to pop pills?
Oh, yeah, that is that's it's an important role and the society we need it as a society, but that's a really, really heavy role. You're doing really important work. And I'm just curious now then, what did you study to even end up in this type of role?
I studied psychology at uni. I studied for 4 years. And then it took me a while to reach here. I started working at a psych hospital, and but I wasn't doing therapy. I was just like I was a mental health tech, so basically I just help the patients with their day-to-day activities, and I'd help out the nurses and the therapists that were working there. And I did that for 2 years while I was getting my master's, and like I was learning like more about like therapy skills. And I actually didn't want to do substance abuse. I wanted to do like more like everyday, either like mental health, like depression, anxiety, like grief, and also like everyday issues. But then I ended up getting into substance abuse.
Interesting. So you're working in a psych ward in a hospital? What was that like? Because again, and pardon the lack of knowledge, hey, but psych ward for me, I'm thinking the TV show New Amsterdam, Dr. Iggy Frome. And I know it's a character, but like what is working in a psych ward like?
It was scary at first, like the first day, like big eye opener for me. There's like so much chaos going on there. There's like a lot of people are suicidal, and then there's also people who are homicidal. It's basically every stereotypical thing that you think about, like that you see in media. That's basically that what I was dealing with. Like when I would tell my family and my friends about it, it's just like they just felt like I was telling them like an episode of a show or something.
That's crazy. How did you fall into that job then? That first job at the psych ward. What did you say you were your title was back then?
Mental health technician. So in order for me to be like a therapist, I had to get my master's, and I just wanted to start like getting experience in the field before like I go on to do more school to see like if I actually liked it. So I got this job, and like, oh, this is really interesting. But I ended up liking it, even though every day was like really, really chaotic.
Yeah, I can't imagine. The day-to-day differences were definitely not something you probably had like a, I don't know, I don't think you could put a to-do list on what you do there. So what did you do your master's in?
I did my master's in mental health counseling, and it was like really interesting. Like I got to meet a lot of really interesting people from different backgrounds. And then like I did like an internship for a while, and it was like at this community mental health center. And I also saw a lot there. Really sad to see. And it's like also people who I've never really interacted with before, because like a lot of them are like homeless, and like they're not medicated. So it's like, but it's also they just really want to get help, but they can't really afford to get help. So it was like a really interesting experience for me.
Yeah. So then you had your role as a mental health technician in the hospital, finished your master's, and then went to an internship. What was that transition like going from, I guess, like a paid full-time role at the hospital into an internship? Was that a bit of a shock for you?
Yeah, it was, because like I couldn't really work during the internship because the internship was like a full-time job. So that was like an interesting transition. But I learned a lot, which I was happy about. And it was just like every time I transition to a new role, like I see like a lot of new things, and like I learn a lot. And I was like, wow, everything that I learned in school didn't really prepare me for like what I saw out there. So it's like a whole new like ball game and stuff.
Oh yeah. Experience trumps like a textbook any day. And that's so true for so many industries. So then you were at your role at the psych ward for 2 years, finished up your master's. You liked by the time you were in that psych ward role for those 2 years, you actually liked your job. So when you finished your master's, why did you choose to move on? And where'd you go after?
So after I finished my master's, I was like, okay, I'm looking like I'm trying to get like I'm trying to, because during my master's I learned that there's like with therapy there's so many different things that you could do. I'm trying to like, okay, figure out what do I like, what don't I like, because like I can't do everything. So I decided, okay, let me try substance abuse. And that has been like a really, really heavy journey. It's like I'm seeing a lot, I'm learning a lot, and it's also eventually want to transition out because it's also it can be like really mentally taxing and it's like really hard, but then it's also like hard because like I've made some friends with some coworkers, but also like I really like I've gotten like really attached to like a lot of the clients. It's like, but it's also like really, really hard to see.
Yeah, because it's I think the line between work life and like work and personal life can get super blurry when it's this sort of role because I don't know, but is it a case where like can any of your clients reach out to you, let's say 8 o'clock at night? Or do you have like a hard cutoff time for that type of thing?
They could, like, especially like if it's like crisis, like if it's like a crisis situation, then like I don't want to like say that, oh, you're like in a crisis and you're feeling like suicidal and I say no, you can't really reach out because then if something happens then I kind of feel like it's my fault. But I try to like keep that separation, even though it's like really, really hard.
Yeah, I can't imagine having to, I don't know, I guess you have a meeting at 5 with someone who is drinking a lot and then go to happy hour yourself at 6 with your coworkers. It's a very strange one. Careers are weird, like literally.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about this. So you mentioned that you kind of want to get out of substance abuse, because it is a bit of a heavy one. And it's hard to do a bit of a balance of work life. What other fields in mental health and therapy would you like to explore?
I really like grief, which is kind of weird whenever I tell anyone that. But I think like it would be like a lot more calmer and a lot less chaotic than what I'm dealing with right now every day. And um and also just like just general people just struggling with like dealing with like their relationships or like their friendships or just day to day, every day. So like my actual long-term goal is like to go into private practice.
Oh, nice. I'm curious though, do you face any, I don't know, ageism in like with your clients? Because like if I'm 27, it means you're at max, you're probably 28. Um, and you walk in and a lot of your clients are, I'm gonna say older than us. Has that ever been a struggle in terms of like like talking to them and administering a treatment plan?
Oh yeah, it's like always a struggle. They're like, are you sure you're old enough to be a therapist? Like, when did you finish school? When did you graduate? And then it's like really annoying. And like a lot of my coworkers now, they're my age or they're a couple years older, and we're all like dealing with this. It's like it's so hard to get everyone to take us seriously because we're so young. They're like, are you sure you're qualified enough to do this? Are you sure? Like, I feel like I need someone who's like older and has more experience.
Yeah, and I feel like media, like TV shows, movies and stuff, always portrays someone who is like in a therapy type of role as someone a lot older. Like I genuinely do in my head see late 30s, early, like actually to be fair, I probably see early 40s when I picture a therapist. But then I also know that people I went to high school with are in therapy, like are in the space of therapy. So that's
Yeah.
a yeah. But I mean, more power to you for basically going in like with the confidence to be like, yes, I know what I'm doing. You need help. Let me help you. Take my age out of it. So big up you for like just having the confidence to like kind of do that and like establish that trust with them. Cause I'm sure as soon as they start talking to you, they're just like, oh, all right, yeah, she knows a lot more than I do.
Yeah. And like I feel like sometimes like hearing that like after a day's like, oh, imposter syndrome comes in and like maybe they're right. Maybe I am too young to be doing this.
Ah, there's no such thing as too young. I'm actually convinced there can't be anything as any such thing as too young anymore. um, especially when it comes to our careers, because the things that we're working with and things that we're doing, the technologies we're using, these are things that didn't even exist like 10, 20 years ago for so many things. So it's we're working in
Yeah.
new industries. So then I want to know then, knowing what you know now and being more than 5 years into your career, is it what you expected it would be before you graduated? It's like go back to undergrad, Rach. You're in uni, you're studying psychology, second, third year. What did you did you is this what you thought your career would be like?
So different than anything I thought it would be. Like for one, I thought it would just be like, like I was expecting like how I see therapy on like a movie or a show, just like a pretty chill way. But like I wasn't expecting it to be so chaotic.
But I mean, and I think that's just the nature of it because therapy deals with humans and humans are so unpredictable. So for me, it's just like that is chaos. Oh my God. So then knowing what you know now and having this 5 years of like, well, more than 5 years of work experience, is there anything that you would do differently fresh out of uni?
I don't know if there's anything because like I'm really happy with the experience that I got. I guess like I try to connect with more people in the field.
Comes from your LinkedIn profile. Have you been connecting on LinkedIn with people?
Yeah, I've been trying to connect with like a lot of people who are like therapists or just like anything in like the mental health field. Trying to like connect with like as much people as I can possibly can and like ask them questions so that like I can learn more.
Yeah, that and anything they answer will just be like more info for you going towards setting up that private practice that you want to. So that's super cool and super useful. Like nothing bad ever comes from networking.
Yeah.
I'm really curious about the fact that you've got such a heavy day-to-day role in terms of it might not be a standard 9 to 5, but you are in clinic for certain hours, and sometimes you might have a really hard day. Sometimes the clients are, I mean, they're struggling, and it's hard to not be empathetic and if they're struggling for you to struggle as well. What do you kind of do on those days? Like you finish up work on that evening, is there like a happy thing you have, a creative outlet, a sport you play? Is there something you kind of get out to get yourself back to center?
Sometimes it can be really hard. One thing that helps a lot, like I'll want my dog or like if I'm really struggling with like something that happened at work, I have like this coworkers that I can reach out and like talk to them about it because they're also going through like the exact same thing and like, hey, maybe I should have done something different here. And then they're like, we'll talk each other through it because like if I'm having a hard day, then she's also having a hard day too. So that really helps.
Yeah, and it's really nice to have coworkers to be able to talk to. I think too often I'm hearing stories of people kind of like saying, "Oh, I just go to work and do my thing. I don't talk to anybody. I don't talk to my coworkers." When realistically, your coworkers are probably the person who they understand the most about what it is you're going through, the actual stresses of the day. So I'm really glad that you've got that environment where you can actually speak to your coworkers if something happens, and they can come to you as well. Just to kind of wrap up on a really interesting topic of what a career in mental health is like, because I think it's a word that's going around now. A lot of people are talking about mental health, especially the instafluencers. Oh my God, I can't even say it, instafluencers. The influencers on Instagram, they like to throw the word about protecting my mental health, blah blah blah, and they don't really, well, they're not doing anything. I don't think some of them aren't even talking to people. So I feel like actually talking to someone now who's in the field to kind of shed a light on like it. I like one tiny aspect of it, because I mean, substance abuse is only one pillar of like a career in mental health. And life's not stagnant. Roles aren't forever. I know you said you like grief, which is a strange thing to say. Now that I've just repeated it, I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
So yeah, what is that ideal next step for you in that sort of transition to grief, if that was what you wanted to do?
Try to see like some clients on the side, like just individually, not related to my job. And like just it doesn't have to be grief. It could be anything just to like see like how that feels like without having to like report to like a boss and stuff. See like how comfortable I am with it. Like slowly like transition out.
I think every career change doesn't have to be the big, ginormous, massive leap that we all make it out to be. Something like that, or how you've just mentioned, testing it out, doing a few sessions to kind of to see how it goes. That's a lot calmer than the massive leap that in my head is just like, woo, let's just switch careers. So no, that's super cool. I'm really happy for you. Yeah, thank you so much for coming on and talking about your career. Very interesting one. Very cool one because I think back to all of us in high school, which is more than 10 years ago, which is frightening. And we're all studying the same things. We're all
Yeah.
doing, right? We studying CSEC, English A, English B, maths, and whatever subjects that we all selected. And we're all doing wildly different things. Like, how crazy is that? Like, you're qualified to be a substance abuse counselor. I am not. But we started studying the same thing in theory. So that's super cool, man. Honestly, honestly, really happy for you.
It's really cool.
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast and talking about it. And
Yeah. It was a lot of fun.
yeah, I'm glad you had fun. I mean, I think we all do cool things and we don't talk about them enough. And we deserve to talk about them because I mean, our careers are that thing that we spend like a good 8 hours a day doing, right? Which in 8 hours a day is a third of your day, becomes a third of your life. We should be able to talk about it.
Yeah. I'm glad I got to talk to you too.
So, careers are weird, fam. I'm gonna link up Rachel's LinkedIn and I'm gonna make sure that everything is linked up in the show notes. You guys know the submission link is also in the show notes and the Insta bio and the LinkedIn bio to just share feedback, ask any questions, any questions, I can even pass them on to Rachel and, share your own stories that you might have. So this is it for mental health this week. Until next Wednesday, stay weird and stay ambitious, my friends.